Sweet, beautiful, lovely, the dripping blood and what's this? Oh, a liver.
Greetings, ladles and jelly spoons, and welcome friends old and new to Kohigh Mathy's YouTube channel. If you're looking for retro gaming info with a very British twist, then please do gaze upon the wonders that this channel has to offer, and be sure to subscribe, and if you enjoyed the video, let me know what you think. But first, the answers to last week's quiz. Now the first answer was in 6 parts as follows: yes, yes, no, sometimes, never on a Sunday, and not with a barge pole. The other answers were the Grenadier Guards, the Royal Armoured Corps, the Welsh Fusiliers, and Lady Diana, who of course was the odd one out. My deliberate mistake was Dicky from Richard York's Wargaming, where no Wargaming remains unplayed, who, as a lot of you pointed out, does not play outside right for Manchester United. He is of course their left back. Now, to proceed, what do you think of when you think of Kohigh Mathy's YouTube channel? If the answer is retro video games and feudal Japan, watch on, dear viewer, as 2021 and in turn 2001 marks the 20th anniversary of yet another video game based in the Sengoku period of Japanese history. As this month we look at Onimusha Warlords.
Masterpiece, Onimusha Warlords, for the PlayStation 2 computer entertainment system. Rated M for mature. Only from Capcom.
Onimusha Warlords, known simply as Onimusha in Japan, is an action-adventure video game developed and published by Capcom for the Sony PlayStation 2. Capcom originally wanted to release the game for the original Sony PlayStation, but the close release of the PlayStation 2 version resulted in the project being scrapped. Onimusha Warlords is the first game in the Onimusha series that to date spans 6 games.
Although technically 7, but I'm not sure I count the web browser game Onimusha Souls that was released in 2012.
The series makes use of historical figures that shaped Japan's history, retelling their stories with supernatural elements. In Onimusha Warlords, you play as Samanosuke Akachi, a rogue samurai who fights the evil forces of Nobunaga Oda.
Yes, that Nobunaga Oda.
In order to rescue Princess Yuki from demons working alongside Nobunaga's army. As of 2019, the series has sold a total of 8.3 million units worldwide, making it Capcom's 8th biggest selling franchise, behind Resident Evil, Monster Hunter, Street Fighter, Mega Man, Devil May Cry, Dead Rising and Marvel vs. Capcom. An updated version of the game called Genma Onimusha was released for the original Xbox in 2002, and whilst at the time the original Warlords version was ported to PC, it was only available in China and Russia. In 2019, the game was remastered and released for the PC, PlayStation 4, Xbox One and Nintendo Switch. Onimusha Warlords achieved high popularity, becoming the first PlayStation 2 game to reach 1 million sales and surpassed 2 million units worldwide. The game was well received by critics and is considered to be one of the best titles on the PlayStation 2. The idea for Onimusha all started in 1997 with Yoshiki Okamoto, who pitched Sengoku Biohazard, basically Resident Evil in feudal Japan.
Jill sandwich.
Biohazard being the name for Resident Evil in Japan.
You were almost a Jill sandwich.
You're right. Barry, thanks for saving my life.
Okamoto's game was to be set in a ninja house filled with booby traps, not unlike the mansion from the first Resident Evil game. The house would have had hidden passages, doors, collapsing ceilings and other ninja tropes. Rather than combat using guns, battles would be fought with swords, shurikens and even some ninja magic, as well as making use of various ninja techniques. Sengoku Biohazard was originally planned for the ill-fated Nintendo 64 DD.
Do you want to know more about the Nintendo 64 DD? Check out Top Hat Gaming Man's video on it and be sure to tell him that I sent you.
Capcom planned for Onimusha to be a trilogy, and Onimusha Warlords started out development as a PlayStation 1 title. This changed, however, with the release of the PlayStation 2, and Onimusha's team's excitement about the PlayStation 2's capabilities saw them scrap the original PlayStation 1 game at roughly 50% complete and move on to a PlayStation 2 build, but still basing the game on and around the Resident Evil series framework. Written by Noboru Sugimura of Resident Evil and Dino Crisis fame, and Flagship, an independent Japanese video game developer funded by Capcom, Nintendo and Sega, Onimusha Warlords' storyline is set in the Sengoku period, as it has multiple conflicts providing a compelling background for the plot. Oda Nobunaga, a Japanese daimyo and one of the leading figures of the Sengoku period, and regarded as the first great unifier of Japan, can be presented as either a hero or a villain. Capcom chose to portray him as the latter.
Men! Fight and die with honor!
Film actor and singer Takeshi Kaneshiro was the character model and Japanese voice actor for the game's protagonist Samanosuke Akachi. Whilst motion capture was used to create character movements, the game's music was the work of composer Mamoru Samarugochi, who is said to have browbeat the producers into employing a 200-piece orchestra, including musicians playing such traditional instruments as the Japanese flute and taiko drums. The game does have some fantastic music that truly is awe-inspiring and yet quite haunting. However, in 2014, Samarugochi admitted that he directed his orchestrator, Takashi Nagaki, to ghostwrite the music for the game.
Open the door! I've killed all the monsters!
Set in a pre-rendered background world, you, the player, primarily have control of Samanosuke Akachi. You begin the game with a standard katana and can obtain long-range weapons with limited supplies. As the game progresses, Samanosuke gains 3 elemental weapons, Ryzen, Iryu and Shippu, each with an elemental magic attack. The game tries to balance out its action elements with puzzles that involve interacting with the environment and obtaining items to make progress, but I'd say it's 85 to 15% swayed towards action being the main focus. As you battle and defeat enemies in the game, the downed foes release different coloured souls that Samanosuke must absorb using the demon gauntlet on his wrist that was given to him close to the beginning of the game. Red souls are a form of currency and are used for upgrading your weaponry. Blue souls recover magic power and are used to perform each weapon's elemental ability. And finally, yellow souls recover health. At certain points in the game, you take control of Samanosuke's assistant.
Assistant? Sidekick? Lover? I will say, if you want a down point to this game, it's that we never really learn much about poor old Kaida,
who is a Konochi, a female ninja or practitioner of ninjutsu. She has her own distinct weapons and acrobatic abilities, but is unable to absorb souls. During the Battle of Okihamza, Samanosuke of the Akachi clan is attacked by Imagawa Yoshimoto's men. Though Nobunaga Oda is victorious against Imagawa, he is fatally wounded and assumed dead.
My lord, we have taken Lord Tsuruga's head!
Perfect!
A year later, Samanosuke receives a letter from his cousin Princess Yuki of the Sato clan, asking for his assistance as she fears monsters are behind the disappearance of her servants. Joined by Kaida, Samanosuke arrives too late at Inabayama Castle as Yuki is abducted. He and Kaida split up to cover ground. After being defeated by a monster whilst trying to rescue Yuki, Samanosuke is visited by 12 Oni.
Wake up, Samanosuke.
Who gives Samanosuke the power to vanquish the monsters that abducted Yuki and seal their souls in a mythical gauntlet. While searching for Yuki, Samanosuke finds a laboratory and encounters the Genma scientist Guildenstern. Learning that the Genma have resurrected Nobunaga to serve them, Samanosuke later encounters Nobunaga's servant Tokeshiro, and he attempts to recruit Samanosuke to Nobunaga's army.
My name is Tokichiro Kinoshita.
This man will eventually conquer the world under the name Hideyoshi Toyotomi.
What is a servant of the Oda clan doing here?
Reunited with Kaida, they follow a young boy, Yume Maru, who Yuki took under her care. Samanosuke learns from Tokeshiro that Yuki is an essential human sacrifice for the Genma's god Fortinbras, who will bless her blood that Nobunaga will drink from to gain the power to destroy the Sato clan.
So you're trying to tell me that all that time I was playing Shogun Total War, all I actually had to do was nick a princess, sacrifice her to a demon with a name that sounds like it comes out of a 1970s British comedy sketch show, and I could have won the game quicker? I must have missed that in the options.
In May of 2001, not long after its initial release, Capcom announced Genma Onimusha for the original Xbox, and planned to release it later that year. However, it didn't reach shelves until 2002. Genma Onimusha contains many updates to the game, such as a graphical overhaul and 5.1 Dolby digital audio. The game itself saw significant changes, with a new boss encounter, explorable areas, costumes and body armour for Samanosuke, alterations to enemy placement, and a 3-tier charge attack for each weapon. Additionally, the inclusion of green souls added a new dimension to the game. When 5 green souls are in the player's possession, the player can activate temporary invulnerability with a slow health recharge. Players frequently have to enter a tug-of-war scenario with enemies over the possession of the green souls. If a green soul is absorbed by a demon, the demon will gain new attacks and will also see a dramatic increase into their defense, but they will release a greater number of souls upon death.
How could I die? By the hand of a human!
Onimusha Warlords was a commercial success back in 2001, selling over 2 million copies worldwide, with 1.4 million copies being sold in Japan. The game went platinum in just under a month, quickly becoming the top-selling PlayStation 2 game ever at the time of its release. The game received positive reviews. Critics praised the graphics, sound and gameplay, but complained about the short length of the game. In January 2019, Capcom released a remaster of the original game, Onimusha Warlords, that doesn't include any of the features found in Genma Onimusha. Released for the Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, Xbox One and PC via Steam, the 2019 remaster received mixed to positive reviews. Whilst its action gameplay was praised for standing the test of time, its visual game design and presentation was said to have aged poorly. The remaster's lack of the additional content found in Genma Onimusha was also met with criticism. Bloody Disgusting gave it a 3.5 out of 5, stating, beneath a new lick of paint and some clever adjustments, Onimusha Warlords doesn't make for an essential action game in 2019, but it's a great modernisation all the same. IGN awarded the game 6.5 out of 10, the final verdict being Onimusha Warlords is exactly how you remember it, and in 2019 that's not necessarily a good thing.
It's that, Nobunaga.
Nobunaga?
I operated on and resurrected that pitiful Nobunaga after he was killed in Okihazuma.
Onimusha Warlords was successful enough to get 2 direct sequels and 2 spin-offs that focused on different genres. Onimusha 2, Samurai's Destiny, and Onimusha 3, Demon's Siege all saw Samanosuke's story against Nobunaga Oda continue and come to a close in Onimusha 3, Demon's Siege.
Past and present collide. Experience the final chapter in the Onimusha trilogy. 2 heroes, 1 destiny. Onimusha 3, Demon's Siege. Rated M for mature. Only from Capcom.
Due to fan response, a final game in the series was released in 2006, Onimusha Dawn of Dreams, that received positive critical response by video game publications, but fans didn't take to the new story. In 2003, Paramount Pictures, Davis Film and Gage Productions announced a joint venture to adapt the Onimusha game series into a live-action feature film. After spending a few years changing directors and generally being stuck in development hell, there has been no further news regarding the film since 2007.
Once again, for its time, Onimusha was a fantastic game that looked amazing and was a lot of fun to play. I think that even by today's standards, that opening cinematic still holds up. Capcom had obviously found their niche, and it served them well, as we shall see over the next few years. Do I think that you should play Onimusha today? Well, I think I agree with Bloody Disgusting's review of the 2019 remaster. It's not an essential game by a long shot, but it's great all the same, and if it isn't in your Steam wishlist for the next time they have a sale on, it really should be. Well, that brings us to the end of this week's video, but before we wrap up, the Limerick competition. Last week we supplied you with the first 2 lines of a limerick that I asked you to complete, and the winner was Mr. Connor from Scarborough, who sent us this entry. A TV contestant called Fox once opened the mystery box. The prize was divine, a weekend for 9, at a doss house at Dagenham Docks. So here are the first 2 lines of this week's limerick. An animal breeder called Gluck once crossbred a hamster and duck. Now all you have to do is supply us with the last 2 lines in the comments down below, and to the best entry goes this week's prize, a model of a box of matches made entirely from the Taj Mahal. Well, that's all for now, apart from this week's appeal.
Help!
Cheerio, see you next week.